guys, welcome to the channel. Welcome to a serial killer horror kind of film. Tonight we're looking at Zodiac on 4K, the 4K release of this. I think it's 2007 film, I'm not quite sure, but it's been out a number of years now, but recently got a 4K release. I do have it on the Blu-ray because it's just a great film. But before we get into the film, let's have a look and see if there's any special features. So this is the main screen for Zodiac. Special features, there are none on the 4K. This is the disc of Zodiac Blu-ray that comes with the 4K disc. Special features are, you have an audio commentary, you have Zodiac Deciphered, which is this featurette walks us through the feature's painstaking attention to detail from each murder scene using CGI recreates 60s and 70s cityscape. You have visual effects of Zodiac, a look at the visual effects in the movie, CGI, the place of traditional swerves and the murder scenes, extensive use of the scenes. Pre-visualization, view each scene in the split screen as it plays with the CGI perspective. Okay, it's quite good. Sorry guys, let's have a quick look. Go, that goes there. Oh, it jumps over. This is the Zodiac speaking. Archival footage, graphic crime scenes, photographs from numerous interviews including survivors of the attack of the Zodiac. Take viewers through Zodiac murders. You have prime suspect. His name was Arthur Lee Allen. Interviews with former friends and acquaintances to reveal the dark personality of Arthur Lee Allen, prime suspect in the Zodiac killers. Trailer and online sort of information from the disc. So those are the special features on the Blu-ray. So I was a bit shocked when I thought, oh god, there's no special features whatsoever. But when you put in the other disc, the Blu-ray, there's an amount of special features, which I think a lot of them are probably on the original Blu-ray. But there are special features available, but they are on the Blu-ray disc, not on the 4K disc. So let's get into the story. So this is a true story, a true account of the Zodiac killer that was prolific in San Francisco in the late 60s, early 70s, where I believe he killed 5 people and sort of 3 people survived. So he was and he was one that sent a lot of letters to the press and things like that. So this film is based around a journalist and a cartoonist of a paper. The cartoonist called Robert Graysmith, played by Jake Gyllenhaal, and the journalist Paul Avery is played by Robert Downey Jr. And they're working in this paper, and the film starts off with us seeing some of the crimes. The film starts off where we've got this young couple in a car. This is in like sort of like 60s, in the sort of mid to late 60s, and in the sort of San Francisco area. And they're going out, and she's a married woman, and she's dating this young lad, and they go to like this drive-in, but it's too noisy. She doesn't want to go there, so they go to this sort of little area, obviously where sort of like lovers go to sort of like sit in the car and chat and kiss or whatever. So they go to this area, and the car pulls up behind them, and in there they sort of like thinking, oh god, what's this? And she thinks it's one of the people that's been following her, because there's one guy that's been following her, because she's been renowned as being a bit of a bit of a loose lady, although she's married. And the car drives off. So with a relief, they sit there, start talking, and he's the guy's feeling really uncomfortable. But he kind of he sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, he feels uncomfortable, but he kind of wants to be there. You kind of feel that. Then the car comes back, and in the car, then the car stops and shines the headlights into their eyes, and lo and behold, he comes up to the car. He unwinds the window and starts trying to talk to them, and he then shoots them. He shoots the guy and he shoots the woman a few times. The woman is shot dead blatantly. I can't show this because it's quite not a very nice sort of thing to see, because it does look quite realistic. And the guy goes back to his car, but then comes back again because he notices there's movement in the car, and it's the guy's climbing over to the back seat, and he shoots again at the guy 2 or 3 times. And then the car goes off, and then we sort of cut probably to like an hour or two in the future, and we see a police car there, and the guy is still alive, but the woman is, unfortunately, she's dead. She didn't survive the attack. And so we see the first sort of murder, and then it sort of cuts again to another sort of murder, and we see that sort of happening. And then the film sort of progresses where we see like the local paper, the Chronicle, whatever it's called, San Francisco Chronicle, receive a letter from this killer who doesn't identify himself, but he leaves these cryptic sort of puzzles for them to sort of solve, because so he's obviously into sort of puzzles and stuff. And a woman and a husband, just who because they publish these puzzles in the paper, because he says, do it or I'll kill someone else. And he sort of like this woman and this man sort of solved the puzzle, and then they receive other letters, and then he names himself the Zodiac, and stuff like this. And an investigation pulls in our local detective, Inspector Bill Armstrong, played Inspector David Toshki, or was it? Yeah, Toshi, played by Mark Ruffalo, who I love, is a great actor. And he's pulled into the investigation with the Inspector William Armstrong, and played by Anthony Edwards, who's from like another sort of police station on the outskirts of San Francisco, where one of these murders have happened. We didn't see another murder with a taxi. A guy gets killed in a taxi. We see a woman closely escaping. She gets a lift. He tricks her. He pulls her over and says, "Oh, one of your back wheels loose. Do you want me to tighten it?" So she goes, "Oh yes, please." So he goes out, and actually what he's doing is loosening the wheel. And he loosens the wheel, and it comes off, and he comes back and says, "Oh, it was worse than I thought. Do you want to lift to the garage?" So she gets in the car with a baby, and he starts talking to her. He says, "Well, when I kill you, I'm going to throw your baby out the window." So then the film, it sort of cuts, and we go to like probably about 15 minutes in the future, and the woman has survived. She's outside the car screaming and crying, and these two people stop to find out what's going on. And he tells her this guy nearly tried to kill him with her baby. Where's her baby? She goes down into the side, into the road in the bush, and the baby's there alive. She goes, "You hid it in there just in case he came back." So she's escaped the Zodiac. And these letters keep continuing on to the paper, and he wants publicity, so he asks Melvin Bell, who's like a TV presenter played by Brian Cox, to kind of like be sort of like talk. He will phone up and do a live telephone call. And they do investigations, and everything leads to this one guy called Arthur Lee Allen, who's played by John Carroll Lynch. Um, and that they question him, and a lot of things fit. He wears a watch made by a company called Zodiac, and it's got the Zodiac symbol on it, because he signs his letter with this sort of symbol, which I don't think there's any sort of picture of it. Yeah, I guess that's close to the symbol that he puts on there. And he signs the letters like this, and the watch has that on there. So he's their prime suspect, but his handwriting doesn't match up with these letters. Bit of a loose thing, because maybe he apparently can use both hands, right with his right and left, so they will be different. But he denies. He says he's only left-handed and all this. So anyway, so that's a loose trail, and the film progresses through all these sort of investigations. And Robert Graysmith, played by Jake Gyllenhaal, he meets a young lady. I believe her name was Melanie, played by Chloe Sevigny, and they become a couple, because Robert's a single dad with a young lad. I don't know what's happened to his wife, we're not told, but he sort of like gets in a relationship with this young woman, and they grow a little family, has a couple more kids. And then the film sort of progresses over years, because they still haven't caught or solved these crimes, and a lot of the police seem to have given up on it almost. But Robert Graysmith is still highly sort of like charged by this. He wants to discover who it was, so it gets to the point where it ruins his sort of relationship with his wife and all this sort of thing. It sort of takes over his life, and we follow him through decades of the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s, where they sort of like still trying to find this killer, where they've got one prime suspect, Arthur Lee Allen, and then another suspect comes into late light in the film called Rick Marshall. But and the only one that's following it up is Robert, and he keeps pestering Inspector David Toshi a lot, and his family, and calling them, I've got this evidence, and all this sort of thing happens. And the case goes unsolved, and it's still unsolved to this day. It really is. It's still not been found. So let's get on to the characters. So this is world-class acting. It's fantastic. It's an amazing acted film. I mean, the three main stars, Mark Ruffalo plays Inspector David, Jake Gyllenhaal plays Robert, and obviously Robert Downey Jr. plays Paul Avery, are absolutely spot on. All the characters are really, really cool. Brian Cox's character, Melvin, is not in it too much, which is a shame, because I quite liked his character. He was very sort of like, I don't know, full of himself, flamboyant sort of TV personality, but he's not in it very much. But all the other characters are really cool. Even the young kids of Robert's family are cool, and the victims are really, really cool. They're just a well crafted characters, and they play it out really well. Yeah, it's a really, really well acted film. So let's get to my final verdict. This is a kind of a bit of a masterpiece, in my personal opinion, in acting, in storytelling, and filmography, everything. It's an essential watch to me. It's a 10 out of 10. It's a perfect sort of serial killer, almost Sherlock Holmesy kind of style of, like, because of the continuing investigation, you get that sort of pulling together of clues and stuff like that, which I love. It's an amazing film. 10 out of 10. This is a true story that still remains unsolved today. Arthur Lee Allen was the only suspect that was ever sort of like really sort of poured upon. And in the film, Robert investigates him quite heavily. But before anything could happen to Arthur Lee Allen, because there was the guy that survived in real life, from that first killing, years later in the 90s, he was did like an identity photo thing and straight away pointed him out. Arthur Lee said that's the guy, and before they could do anything, Arthur Lee Allen had a fatal heart attack and died. Um, so he would never, and all these letters and phone calls and stuff all stopped when Arthur Lee Allen died. So he was the prime suspect, and most people think that he was the Zodiac killer. Now, there is some special features on here, but the best special feature to this film, I reckon, is go over to Netflix, and there's a program called This is the Zodiac Calling, I believe, something like that, and it is the true story of Arthur Lee Allen and stuff. So it's worth watching that if you want to watch a really good special feature. It's a feature-length documentary film. It's really cool, really interesting, but it's amazing. Now, the pluses of this edition, the 4K transfer, it's up there with Dirty Harry, Pale Rider. It is stunning. It is absolutely stunning. It's beautiful. Yes, most of it's based in the 70s, so you've got a lot of oranges and browns, because that's what we remember at that time. When I look back at the 70s, all clothes were pretty much brown and orange, and furniture was brown and orange. We even had a sofa which was wooden brown, and the cushions on it were like orange. That was just that time period. And it's spot on. There is a documentary on the Blu-ray about how they sort of like did all of that to sort of like make it really spot on to the sort of 70s. It looks stunning, guys. It looks amazing. There's no drops in the picture. There's hardly any ounce of grain. It's a little soft at times, the picture, but I like that because it gives it that old feel to it. And it's just a great looking film. Really, really cool. The minuses of the film, there's none. The only minus you could probably think would be that it's a very slow burn film. This film runs for 2 hours 40 minutes, so you're getting up to a 3-hour mark nearly. So you will have to make a whole evening spare if you want to start watching it about 7 p.m. It will finish about 10 p.m. So it's a whole evening viewing. So that could be looked on as a negative to some people, but to me, I loved it. I loved it. I suppose the only little niggle about the film is the way it transitions between decades. It's like you're getting into a depth of you're thinking, oh, Robert's onto something here, and he'll go and talk to someone and get to a loose end, and then it'll cut from 1979 to 1983, and it's just like 4 years have passed and things like that, and all this sort of thing. So that's the only thing. But again, that's what happened. You can't spread it out any longer, and you've got to think, well, you've got to transition it, because this investigation still went up to about 2000 and something when all these sort of things still got investigated. But it was never solved, still lies unsolved. So if Arthur Lee Allen wasn't the Zodiac could still be alive, but he would be probably in his 90s by now if he's still alive. But he's probably more likely passed away. But the actual murders went unsolved. So those poor families and their children and grandchildren would never know who murdered those poor people at that time. But yeah, amazing film, guys. Zodiac. It is a 10 out of 10. If any of you guys seen it, let me know down below what you think of it. It's a great film. I could go on talking about this all day long. I absolutely love it. It's a great cast, well acted. As you can see by the only clips that I put in there, they look stunning. Obviously, I didn't put any clips in of any of the killings. 2 reasons. One, I didn't want to put killings on there, and 3, I wanted you to sort of see it. But there's some very quite tense moments in those sort of killings. There's one where he kills the 2 that are picnicking, where he ties them up and stabs them to death, and all this sort of thing. and he goes to their car and he writes on the car, Zodiac, killed by stabbing, and he puts the date and all this sort of thing on there. He writes this stuff on this. He wants to be famous, I think. I think he wanted to be famous and never discovered, but he kind of worked out because he never got discovered. And I believe Robert Graysmith went on to write a book about him. I know that Paul Avery died because he was a heavy drinker, heavy smoker, and he died. So yeah, at the end of the day, it's a true story, and it's really, really done really well. Guys, check out some horror channels for me. Check out Horror Hands, Horror Geek, Man v Film, RS Design, Pizzawell, I Am Icelord, Cat Watches Horror Movies, Grumpy Andrews Horror House, Skin Crawler, The Maniac, and a massive shout out to my lad. Till next time, look after yourselves, look after one another, and I really hope I see you all soon.